Hi, everybody. Captain John here. Let's take a ride. I'm here with Spencer, and this is, I think, going to be our third installment of Impact with Animals While on Two Wheels. There's a lot of similarities in what happened to you, Spencer. I'm finding out just right before we started. But before we dive into the nitty gritty on all of that, so tell me when did you start riding? What did you start riding? What bikes have you gone through and where are you at now?
Well, when I think about it, there hadn't been too many. I think in comparison to some people, there are 2 or 3 bikes a year or so. I've got a lot of catching up to do, but I started riding when I was about 4.5, 5 years old.
Okay, okay.
Uh, Thankfully, my dad was into riding, and my memory, sometimes you have some revisionist memories, but what I think in my mind, what I remember is sitting on the couch on my dad's lap, like on his knee, basically, and him. We were watching Supercross or something,
Uh-huh.
and I saw the motorcycles and went, "I want a motorcycle. I want to ride a motorcycle." And you know, time goes on, and as a child, um, why is Dad going without me? Reality is life is life. Dad can't take you everywhere, even to work. Why is Dad leaving without me? But I remember vividly my dad leaving and going riding with his buddies. And at the time, he had an '86 XR 600R with that. What I, that rad red is what I call it. The
Yeah.
orange, orange with the yellow backgrounds, and he had these blue handguards on it. And so even when I see those bikes today, there's this nostalgia. I'm like, man, one day I'll buy one of those and do something with it. But either way, so um, one Christmas we had opened up all our presents, and I have a brother that's 11 months and 26 days older than me. So obviously back then cable wasn't like what it is now, because mom and dad didn't have anything else to do but make babies. So I come 11 months and 26 days after my brother. So there's two of us. He gets the blue toy, I get the red toy. That's
Hmm.
just the way it worked for us. You couldn't give one something without the other. But we opened up all our toys and we're thinking we're done. And dad goes, "Oh no, you got one more in the corner. You got one more in the corner." And we're looking around and you're thinking something small. Well, underneath the sheet was a dirt bike. Um,
Oh,
and so, for me, that was like, it's the greatest thing is mega Christmas. Santa really did good that year. And it was a 1986 Kawasaki KD80M. Um,
oh yeah. Yeah,
and
that was a bike. I
yeah,
remember those.
and they had the little oil container for you to put oil in them and had points. And it was kind of a, looking back, of course, as a kid, I didn't know. All it was a motorcycle, and that's all that mattered. Two wheels, and engine. Let's figure out how to ride this thing. And um, which I'll get into that here in a second. But I remember we went wild, and I didn't realize we had footage of this, but my dad actually has the video somewhere, and he showed it to us. And it's like we just go berserk over this. But and of course, the first thing is you want to go out there and ride it. But
Hmm.
at the time, the bike was bigger than we are, and my dad's rule for us is if you can't pick it up, you can't ride it. It's the same kind of if you can't start it, then you can't ride it, and if you can't pick it up, you can't ride it because the first thing you're going to do is fall over. So it's kind of looking back, I was, man, that's pretty neat. That's an intelligent thing to do. And so he kind of starts us off. Of course, he had already rode us around on his bike, but nothing on our own. We didn't really, of course, we had bicycles, but nothing else motorized. And so he gets us on this one bike individually, and we're riding around, taking turns. And he slowly starts to let us develop these skills where he's like, okay, well, now you just operate the gas. And so we're riding around, and thankfully we had a piece of property. I guess total with the house on it, it might have been 3 acres, but the
Yep.
front yard was just like my dad's. He always says, "I don't want to be a yard farmer," and I never understood that till I got older. I'm like, oh man, I get it, Dad. He's like, I don't want to spend all day mowing the lawn anymore. But it had about 2 acres of open field in front of the house, and a ditch that kind of went around the outside that later became our trail system.
Heck yeah,
And
it did.
yeah, as soon as we knew, yeah. But so we would ride around, and Dad's on the back of this bike, and he let us develop, our throttle control a little bit, and then it's like, okay, our hands start off on the handlebar pad, and he's operating it, and then one day he's like, well, will you try it? And so you're really riding the bike, and you don't even know it yet. And one day, Dad just jumps off. He just basically stands up, and then you're riding on. No, 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 and he's like, just go, and you realize in that moment you've been doing it all along. Um, so the old 86 KD80M there, we had one, and somehow, some way, Dad ends up finding another one at a yard sale or something. And it's the exact same thing. They're both, they made a red one and a green one. Again, stuff you find out later, nerding out about stuff. But
Uh-huh.
the one he got was like it had a 90s, almost like a splashed white and green tank. And that one became mine. Oh, man, I got to have that because it was 90s cool,
Oh
And,
yeah.
and the old purple and yellow Renthal pad on there. I doubt they were even Renthal bars, but that was the one I wanted. And my brother has always been the kind of guy that we always joke that he was the professional rider without being the professional rider, because my dad and I cared more about making sure his bike was good than he did. So we did maintenance on ours, and we just kind of enjoyed that process because the excitement of the ride. And my brother's playing video games until it's time to leave the next morning, basically. But he and I, so Dad would go to mow the lawn, and he said, "Boys, I want to ride motorcycles while I mow the lawn." And of course, we're like, "Yeah!" And so we're out cutting it up, riding around this property while he mowed the lawn. And I'll tell you this story because it might kind of resonate with your crowd. Anybody that rides a motorcycle, or a father son moment, I guess. I don't remember all of them, but this one I definitely remember. I said, "Dad, I don't really want to wear my helmet." They said, without missing a beat, he didn't pause. There's no like, here's an intelligent thought. He goes, "No problem, son. No big deal." He said, "But before you take off on that bike," he said, "that concrete wall right there," he said, "lean down and run into that wall as fast as you can, just head first." And even as a kid, I was like, "Well, Dad, that's stupid." It was so stupid. I couldn't believe it came out of my dad's mouth, kind of thing. I might have been 8 at that time or something, maybe not even that old, but, I was like, "Well, why would I do that?" He said, "Because that's exactly what it's gonna feel like when you bust your head against one of these trees out in the yard."
Well, that's
No,
true.
I thought, "Oh, wow." So needless to say, I put my helmet and went and rode. But, that's the first bike, and then my brother and I, began riding together with my dad. We didn't get into racing or, motocross or anything like that. It was all just trail riding, and we had a kind of a weird I don't it was weird to me now looking back. All we did was camp and rode motorcycles. My parents were divorced, and so my dad would come in. He's always lived in the Nashville area for most of my life, and I live in Cleveland on the in East Tennessee. So he would come in 2.5 hours away, pick me and my brother up, and we'd shoot off to Tellico, Tennessee, back when the OHV park was open. We'd go up to
Yeah.
Lampeter Lakes, just all kinds of different places, and it was fantastic. It was a great way to grow up, and you build a lot of skills for later on in life. My wife and I were just actually talking about how she's like, "Oh, you would have just made a decision like this." We were watching videos of people wrecking in the ice, and she was talking about making an instant decision. And I was trying to get her to come to the understanding of like, "Well, why do you think that is?" And she's thinking about it. She's like, "Oh, probably you ride motorcycles all your life." And I was like, "That's exactly why." But so all that riding over the years, my first bike's that Kawasaki there. Um, Later on, I ended up with a 2000 XR 250. And so that, if I'm going to date when that was, I think I bought it a year old. Um,
XR 250, did you say?
yes, sir.
Yeah,
XR.
that's a classic trail bike right there.
And I think that all my life, if I'm really addicted to something that's motorcycles, and I'm chasing the high from when I had that bike.
Mm.
The timing was right. I was about 16 years old. 15, 16 years old, right in that range. And I think I got it in, I want to say November of 2001, somewhere in that. So I got it almost about a year old when the new models were coming out, kind of thing. And the whole thing was, I propositioned to my mom, and I said, listen, if I come up with half the money, would you pay the other half? And she said, I'll do it. And so I worked all summer. I'd do anything and everything that I could do to get some money. And I got the money. She says to this day, I didn't come up with my half, but I don't, I don't remember. I thought I did either way, but we ended up getting that bike, and man, I grew so much as a rider on that bike. Um, and you really, at that age too, you're starting to really build those friendships with people that ride.
Yeah.
Realize that everybody else is a loser. I'm just kidding. No, so I one of my best friends to this day, his name's Steven. And so me and Steven start riding. Here's this guy, junior high, and he comes rolling in on a XT 225. And so if you can put
Yeah.
two bikes that were really close to hear these bikes, and it's like, oh man, I got to meet this guy. And so of course we became quick friends, and he lived probably about a mile, 2 miles down the road. So he's always my example when I go, now I wouldn't ride. I wouldn't ride an hour if I'm not going to get to ride more than an hour. It's got to
Yeah.
equal out. But back in those days, we'd ride an hour to spend 10 minutes, ripping some trails up or whatever.
Uh-huh.
We have a ton of we could talk all night about our stories, but yeah, that really developed a lot of my skills. And I'm chasing the high on that bike as far as how much I really loved it. It could ride a wheelie and climb anything as far as I'm concerned, as long as I could do it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, that was that, and it's still such a great woods weapon, that XR
Yes,
250.
yes,
Those are great bikes, and
yeah,
there's lots of them out there still
yeah, yeah.
running today.
But and feel free to lead us anywhere else, because I'll go on. But
Well,
go
what
ahead, go
did
ahead.
you lead to? I mean, so you had this XR 250, and obviously you're into do some adventure riding.
Yeah.
So tell me about this transition over to more
Okay.
pavement oriented.
Yeah. So I kind of went some weird routes, but I had, even at that time, so I rode that bike. Um, I'm going to say probably till I'm closer to 20s, in my 20s, I would say early 20s. Um, and we became one. That's what it felt like. We've reached the Zen, whatever. No, it was just it had to be a better bike than that for me to move on, I think. But life changes too.
Hmm.
All the variables of life changed, and I had started working at a motorcycle shop, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to make this bike street legal, and I'm going to ride it on the street. Well, you know how this works. A 450 or 252 stroke is plenty off road. But as soon
Uh-huh.
as you hit the street, you're like, man, what else do they make that's big? This is weak.
Yes.
You try to get out in traffic, things change. But I rode it back and forth a couple times, and at that time, I ended up trading that bike off for a Toyota four wheel drive.
Yeah.
Still haven't. My first vehicle was not to sidetrack too far, but an '88 Toyota 4Runner. Well, I ended up trading that bike to a friend of mine that had one that's all built out, with all the off road stuff on it. It was a good deal at the time and all that. Again, if I could go back, I'd cut that bike though. But either way, so I had traded that off, and then I ended up, when I was at the dealership, I had a gentleman. It was a Honda dealership, Honda Polaris, and he had come in, and I was helping him give it he had a CRF, I believe it was a 250X is what he had bought, like '06, right around there, I think.
Uh-huh.
And he had just bought that, and we were just talking while he's loading up. He's like, yeah, I got a KTM, but I don't even ride it. And we started talking, and like, really, what is it? And we talked back and forth, and I was like, well, let me get your number. I might know somebody, or I might even be interested in. Well, I ended up finding out all these different things after the fact, but he was a gentleman out of Knoxville that had multiple bikes that he barely ever rode. Um,
There's quite a few of those out there. They're
he
nice
had,
to know.
Yes. And a real quick story on this one here. Um, I don't know if he was the owner or co-owner of one of the Volvo, I believe it's the Volvo dealership in Knoxville. And he had a 2003 KTM 450 SX. And it had the electric start put on that. No, they didn't come with it, but they had retrofitted on there. And so I talked to the guy, and I think the price was like $2,800 if I remember right. Worked it out and said, "Hey, I'll come up and check it out." My friend Steven and I, of course, Steven's got to be in on the adventure. We go up there to see this thing. And if somebody had sold something before they sold something, this guy sold it. He walked us through the shop, and when you got into the actual bays where they were at, it was all dark, all the lights are off, and that bike's in the center of the shop with a light beaming down on it like it's a magazine shoot. And
Uh-huh.
open up those doors, and I'm like, dang man, there's no way I can't buy this bike. If it starts and runs and goes through the gears, I have to buy this bike. It was just perfect. It's one of those moments you wish you had on camera. But we worked out a deal and everything worked out. And so that got me into the KTM world. And I
Then
really,
what was it?
it, it was a 2003 KTM 450 SX. So it's just
Okay.
straight up motocross bike that they had retrofitted the electric start on it.
Uh-huh.
And in
I've
those
ridden with a guy one time that had one of those. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was, man, it had tons of power. The only negative is it was a 4-speed.
Yeah.
Um, but it was like for me, I had a little bit of that two-stroke experience from being a kid, so feather in the clutch wasn't that big a deal, and then getting every bit out of that, XR250. When you're not in lug mode, you're gonna have to feather that clutch a little bit. And for wheelie popping, I have to pop my clutch. That I'm not the brute power guy. I'm just a clutch popper. So I guess that's where it comes from. But so I learned it was like another leap in my ability of riding. And at the time when I worked at the dealership, it was the most I'd ever got to ride. I would go almost every weekend and end up hooking up with some guys out of Knoxville. Their club's called the Volunteer Riders out of Knoxville, and they've got a couple events that they run, but really Windrock, those are the guys that have made all the single track at Windrock, but they don't map any of it.
I know. I have
It's super
ridden.
secret, super secret
I
stuff.
know. I know. I went up there with the guy that knew a few of the trails.
Yeah,
And so we're out there, and we ran into two old men on pit bikes, little Kawasaki pit bikes, little 125s because they're old and they need a short bike.
yeah,
And they're like, oh, we know all, just follow us. And they took us
yes,
all over,
yeah.
and one of them separated his shoulder out there.
Oh no,
He was feeling like he was 15 again, racing that little bike, and it was
yeah.
slick, and he hit some roots, and over the bars he went.
Ooh, that's not the closest place to the hospital either.
No, no, he walked it. I think we had to go up some steep hills, but he was able to kind of ride it, and then we helped him over the tough
Yeah,
stuff to get up to the main road. We were down in it, so
yeah, yeah.
yeah, you know all those trails though.
Yeah, and honestly, I wish I lived closer. I would spend more time. I haven't spent the time since I've gone the adventure route. I haven't spent the time that I did when I was when I got into racing. But so the KTM got me riding a bunch. I ended up, like I said, riding with those guys. Some of those guys were a part of that, and I'd gone up there one day and was riding some of the single track and kind of had a similar experience where I ran into some guys and um, they were like, "Well, follow us. We'll go ride some of this single track over here." And I was like, "Really? There's more?" And they said, "Yeah, there's more over here." And I was like, well, "Man, I got to go back to the truck. I'll get some gas and I'll meet you back over here." And he's like, "Nah, man, you just come with us. We'll top your tank off." Just straight up dirt bike guys. Like
Uh
that's
huh.
the kind of salt of the earth type people. Like, man, this gas is just going to go bad in the tank anyways. Let's go. They topped my tank off and we rode. I don't know. We probably rode 2 or 3 more hours and rode a bunch of different single track. And then my mind's blown at this point. I'm like, I need to be over here riding this instead of riding the the side by side trails. At that time, side by sides weren't even what they are now. It was more just ATVs, but
Yeah.
still, park is such a huge place. But so that really kind of got me riding a bunch. And that group of guys that I would meet, I mean, I don't even know, for a while, we didn't even have each other's phone numbers or anything. They were just like, hey, you going to be riding next weekend? And I said, yeah, I'll be here next weekend. Well, what day, and we decide what we're going to do and just meet up at a time. And everybody did what they're, kind of like old school bicycles. Hey, I'll be
Mm-hmm.
there at 9 and we'll go to the pool or whatever. It was very similar, very kind of organic, I guess is what you'd call it nowadays. And so rode a bunch, and one of the guys, his name was Jim, and Jim would always go, "Are you sure you don't race, Spencer? Are you sure you don't race?" I was like, "Man, I've never raced." And he's like, "Well, man, you need to go racing. You'll really enjoy it. You really just need to. Just watching you ride, I want you to go do that." Like basically, he didn't say those exact words, but he would just say, "Man, you need to go race." And so I really got to thinking about it, and this is a few years, of course, had gone on, but I ended up changing jobs from the motorcycle shop. And the problem with the motorcycle shop, if you don't work at a motorcycle shop that has the passion for it like you do, you'll just be depressed and disappointed all the time. And that's what my problem was. I wanted it, man, I wanted it, but they didn't want it. It was just a redheaded stepchild to them, so it didn't work out. I was like, all right, I'm out of here. But I ended up working a new job, and they rode some dirt bikes just a little bit, not as much as I did. But again, the next phase here. So they they and I all got to talking, and we all start riding. And hey, let's go racing. Then we all start racing, and that kind of builds from there. And I had that 450 SX for a while, and have a ton of stories about the good, bad, and the ugly. But that bike was, it was great. Again, kind of chasing something in between that and that, probably the XR 250. But ended up getting into two strokes. I've always been a bigger guy, and I got a 2001 KTM 200 EXC, and I rode that a bunch. Ended up in a race up there back near Coal Creek, and I can't think of the name of the group, but they they ran the Moose Run and then would come down in the winter and run a couple races further south. But they ran one up there, and I remember showing up, and it had rained a few days, and some of the buddies that I rode with in those races were there, and they're looking at me as I'm like gearing up, and they're like, "Man, you racing?" And I said, "Dude, we just traveled an hour and a half up here. I'm not going to just watch, I just did that mindset is not there. I'm like, I'm all in. I'm leaving and that was a thing I think instilled by my dad. He would say, "Boys, it's raining. We riding today or not?" Because once you get in that car, it's over. There's no like, "Oh, Dad, it's raining." You're
Yeah.
owning it. And of course, I was always like, "Let's go." My brother was like, "Yeah, it doesn't matter to him. He's the pro rider." Hey, do you have a rain jacket? But I told the guys, I'm like, I'm racing this race. I've got to. And man, it was bad muddy, like single ruts to the
Uh-huh.
pegs. And I that 200 has like a super granny gear low first. If you ever want to nerd out, for whatever reason, I don't know if the newer 200s did, but that '01 had a low first gear. And I always thought, man, there's no reason for this. That race is why, because I couldn't hold my legs up anymore. I was so tired, and it was too muddy to keep your feet on the pegs. And those ruts would get so deep, your feet would get caught. So you're trying to dog paddle, but you can't hold your legs up anymore. And I've got that granny gear just so that's why that bike had the granny gear. But I always remember that bike because of that. Because of the race, and we did some stuff back and forth, and ended up going down to the Perry Mountain 24-hour race.
Oh, that's a great one. I've done
Yes,
that once.
it's rough.
Yeah, and it
It's
gets
rough.
whooped
Yes,
out in the
yes,
night after, 12 hours of bikes going over the trails.
yeah, of absolute destruction on the sand. It's millions of little Tonka trucks and kids playing in the sandbox is what it's like. But
Yeah. Those
we,
those 6 inch whoops become 6 foot whoops.
yeah, yes. And for me, we never really rode a bunch in the sand, so we would run that Sork series a lot, and
Hmm.
they'd have those Southern Georgia races, and they would just kick our butt. Some a motocross guy gets out there and he just annihilates you. And I consider myself that fast of a rider. My thing was I'm just not going to quit. And
Yeah.
so the worse the race would get, the better. I have a friend named Josh Ruckensmith, and we'd always joke about the worse the race is, the better chances that we have to do good, because we just wouldn't quit even when it was horrible. You know, you've got blisters on your hands and can't barely hold yourself up, and we would just survive kind of thing. But either way, so we end up at that 24-hour race. We had bought a bike and prepped it, and we ended up, it had a new stator in it, and the stator ended up having a problem. But the way that it would have an issue, it felt just like it was carburation. It was the craziest thing. So that we were doing actually pretty good, but that wiped us out. But the crowning enjoyment of that whole thing, because it was miserable hot, and I was super unprepared for that. It's like breathing in just the hottest of hot air in. It just demoralizes you. But they had a huge rain delay. Um, and I thought we would get ahead, because as soon as it started pouring down rain, I was like, hey, put the light on. Let's put the light on. And we were running a 6-man team. And the whole goal is we'll have that light on. Hopefully this will be real quick. We'll be back on the bike and we'll be ahead because we've already got the light on, because you can't start with your light on. At least that was the rules at that time. I don't know what they are now. Of course, we're a few years removed now because I'm getting old. But they started us off at night, and they had those I call them generator lights, and they've got, I guess there's 6 lights, and they're all ran by the generators, and they started us in this real sandy spot at the bottom of this hill, and everybody's gathered around, and I I don't know, have you ever done any racing at all?
Uh-huh. Perry
Okay.
Mountain to 24 hours. Been out and did Vegas to Reno, the the
Oh,
500.
awesome.
But I was a DNF. I gotta go redeem myself and do that one again.
That's
That was a
cool.
dream, and my dream is to finish it. So
Yeah, man, that's awesome. That's an accomplishment just to even get out there and run it. So
I haven't
congrats
done a
on that.
whole lot of racing, but I've
Yeah.
done some big ones.
Yeah, that's nothing wrong with that. Well, I say that to say that you could be as tired as possible, but when you come around where there's people, there's
Yeah.
something about it.
Oh, you get on that gas.
Yeah, man, that guy's fast through the pits. You know? So I remember being almost as out of control going up that little sandy hill in the dark and thinking, man, that was dumb. I about wiped out. I was out of control. But we had a really good light setup too. We had a big, basically, I'm going to call it an 8-inch light. It may have been bigger. Mega cannon beam on the front, and then we had a spot and a flood beam on the helmet. And so, and it was just a 200. Um, so you really didn't have the juice out on some of the open stuff. And you know how they'll run you down a fire road and you're running, I mean, you're probably running 50, 60, and then they slam you down real hard and cut you down through a little spot and then maybe 50, 60 again. So because our lights were so good, I was casting shadows on people and they were slowing down. And then they'd get behind me and be basically spurring me on because I couldn't go fast enough. It's hilarious, but that was a good experience either way. But so again, learning as we go through it, I ended up on a because of that, I ended up on an 01300 because the plan was we might do it again. And so my buddy bought a bike, we did a bunch of stuff to it, but ended up we just didn't do it. We didn't pull it together to do it again. So I ended up buying that bike from him, rode it for a while, and it was a good bike. I had my mindset to do something else, but so from there, I still had that 450 SX, and I don't know why, but I'm going to convert it and make it street legal. So I made it street legal and rode it around a little bit, and that thing was like a hooligan bike because it's 4 speed.
Hmm.
Um,
I
but
bet it was.
it was fun, but I ended up locking it up on the road. So that was my first engine lockup sliding.
I've
I
done that once before too
don't
at
want to do it again.
55. Yeah, if you
Yeah,
just seized in that whole, you're tired, you're skidding.
yes. And you're trying to figure out what it is at the same time. You pull in the clutch and it's not fixing it. But so that ended that bike. I actually think I still have parts for that thing, but that ended the 450. and I had the two strokes for a while. Ended up selling those because I could not. I went through a period where I think I ran out of gas at every race, maybe twice or three times. I just couldn't do it. I don't know why. My buddies would just laugh. You're like, let me guess, out of gas as they're passing. I'm like, man,
Uh-huh.
this is working. And I ended up though. A buddy bought a 12 350 XCF, and I ended up finding a deal on a 12 350 SXF, um, which we did. That's the only bike I've ever rode that I'll be like, hey, that bike needs a recluse. And I don't know how to describe it otherwise, but you'd be ripping across a cornfield and cut the throttle, and it felt like the back was going to come over the front. But it's
Oh.
I don't know why, but they don't really have much engine braking in comparison to like a 450, but it just had enough at that speed where it felt, man, you chop that throttle, it's trouble. But so that's the only bike I've ever had with a recluse. But it was great for that bike, and especially as out of shape as I've always been. From I would always joke with my buddies, it wasn't true, but I would mess with them. But every race and be like, "Hey, dude, this one right here, from the couch to the podium, baby, couch."
I know. Hey, I can relate to that.
But, so I rode that for a few years, and again, great bike. Didn't have any issues with that thing, just my own issues. But the gateway drug was my buddy had bought his he worked with a gun store a lot, and so they would just trade and man, hey, you got this, you got that, and they just trade back and forth. Hey, you need work on your car, we'll work on your car. You fix these guns up. So next thing you know, Spencer owns guns that he had never owned because that's part of the deal. Well, hey man, we're gonna get these two Sega AKs, you know, for this deal or whatever. Like, okay, I'll take it out of your paycheck. So that whether it be motorcycle parts or guns, that became easy. But in that period right there, my buddy did some horse trading, ended up with a first generation KLR. And
Yeah, everybody has
it's,
had a KLR.
yeah. And so he was like, and I had a GSXR 750 for just a little bit. And I had traded that same old off road Forerunner. I traded it for this GSXR. I thought I'd have a GSXR. Had it for a while. And the problem I had with the sport bike was um, it wasn't my thing. I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong. Especially my thing was on the interstate, just gassing on the interstate. I just like the on ramp, like the way they look, like the way they sound. But in that crowd, at least here in Cleveland, was always, hey, let's go to the gas station and hang out. And I want to ride. I didn't buy this thing to hang out. This is a
Yeah.
performance queen. This isn't a parking lot queen. Let's go ride. But nobody really wanted to ride them. So I ended up yeah, I ended up riding that for a few years, and I meet my wife in that time period, and kind of in that right there, in that right before I got that bike, I think I met her, and so she rides it with me, and I couldn't believe anybody would get on a motorcycle with me, like I just couldn't believe that. So that's how I knew she was the one.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, but it was obviously a pressure test for a relationship when the seat is angled where she's falling on me. So, but we went on some crazy long trips for a sport bike. I thought a couple, we might go on a 300-mile day on that thing. I was hurting. I know she's hurting. And anyways, we rode that for a little bit. She rode with me, and that the transmission ended up messing up on that bike. And yeah, I mean, it was grinding, messing up. A guy needed it for parts. I sold it, ended up selling it to him. And at that point, I'm like, what am I going to do now? And that the same time, my buddy got that KLR, and he's like, hey man, you and Christy take that KLR out, y'all ride it. And so I told my wife, I was like, hey, he wants us to ride this thing. And I think it was like 3 or 4 days, and we put like 1,000 miles on it. We just went on a trip on it, and it was gutless.
Yes. Yeah. Especially coming from that GSXR,
Yes, yes,
it's a gutless bike.
yes. But every time you go to start it, it works. I mean, it
Yeah.
was just like when you pull out to pass, she's giving all she's got, Captain. She got in the motor. And
The first time I passed a vehicle on a 2-lane road, and so I traded a Goldwing.
oh
I had a
man, yeah,
gold. I traded an old '82 Interstate. Just title swapped it for an old clapped out '99 Gen 1 KLR.
yeah,
And
yeah,
same thing. I went to pass a car, and I'm giving it all she's got to make that pass, and I'm like, oh my god. I was used to, a 4-cylinder motor.
yeah, yeah. Accidentally passing,
Yeah.
But that so that was our gateway drug, and the aspect of my wife didn't necessarily enjoy the bike part of it as far as the ride on that KLR, as much as she enjoyed going and seeing and the experience of being on a bike.
Hmm.
Um, so that kind of, you know, I guess whet our taste buds for that. And I ended up finding a 2008 KLR with the 680 kit in it, and I ended up buying it. And man, we rode all over the place on that thing. Again, it for I don't know the differences between the bikes, but that one felt like it had a little bit more juice in it. But
Well,
still, it's
with a 685 kit, yeah,
yeah,
definitely it helped a little bit, but yeah, I think the motor was about the same.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah.
It was just it was just a step above new bold graphics, new bold
Yeah.
plastics, you know.
Uh-huh.
But
Uh-huh.
we put quite a few thousand miles on it, going on trips and stuff. And again, it was like, man, this is fun. This is really enjoyable. But we're through the process. You're learning how to do routes. I still haven't done it well. My thing is, it's all planned out good, and then it's Katie bar the door, Hail Mary for the home, and that's a horrible strategy. If you can plan it out where you come around real slow, looping yourself back home, it's so much more enjoyable. But
Uh-huh.
reality sets in for Spencer, and that's what he normally does. So the last day is the worst day, a lot of times. But so I had that bike for quite a few years, and then for the Tenere, as of July this year, I bought a excuse me, July in July of this year. It's been 2 years since I bought that bike. It's a 21 model Yamaha Tenere 700, and I bought it with 1,410 miles on it.
Oh, what even? It's just barely broke in. That's what you got to avoid because that was the worst 1,000 miles I've ever ridden was that break-in period.
Don't give it any gas. Well, how do I do that? It's a motorcycle.
Yeah, yeah. I finally, I'll tell you how I ended that. I was probably at like 900 miles or so, and I've been babying it, doing exactly what you're supposed to, drain the oil extra times, but we had one of our rallies in Tellico, and one of my buddies showed up with a street bike along with his dirt bikes, but he had an 890 Super Duke that had been way tuned up, pushing 180 horsepower, and he's like, "Hey, let's go up over the Chahala over into what is that, Robinsonville?
Yeah, yeah,
Let's do a bomb run over there." And of course, I'm trying just to keep him in sight. I'm just wringing the neck of that Tenere going up. I'm like, screw if I see any cops because they're going to get him first on
yeah, yeah,
that. And it was frozen. I'm every little wet patch. I was so cold. I was like black ice, black ice. I'm freaking
yeah,
out
yeah.
because it was below freezing coming up over
Mm.
the mountains. But I was like, yep, break-in's over now.
It's cleaned out.
Yeah. But anyway, so you got the Tenere, so that's a good lead-in point. So tell me when and how this happened and where it happened and all of this and what you hit.
Okay. Um, I need to send you the photo so you can like maybe
Well,
you can
you
edit
sent me
it.
one. I want to sit. It's going to be the thumbnail one. You sent me the one with you with your crutch right behind.
Well, I'll try to remember to send you if I don't remind me, but I'll send
Okay,
you the other photos of my bruising and stuff. And then I
sure.
got a photo of it laying in the ditch there. But um, so basically, the deal was I am trying before I bought this bike, I'm trying to navigate how am I going to get a new bike? how do I get the newest bike I can get,
Yeah.
without just demoralizing our family finances, you know? And
Yeah.
so, and then I was dead set, that I was gonna buy an Africa Twin Adventure Sport. You know, in my mind, it was the Cadillac of Cadillac. It's got everything, air ride suspension, it's got cornering headlamps, you know. And then I started looking at maintenance, and I started looking at reality for me, that I can break an anvil. And I was like, I better get something simple. And so
Yeah.
that led me to the Tenere, which I'm really happy I did. But so the negotiation with my wife is like, listen, we can spend around $10,000 on a used motorcycle that's almost brand new. Here's the one in Atlanta right now. Or we're probably going to spend 40 plus $1,000 on a vehicle for me to drive, because I've had a bunch of just old vehicles that I've been limping around, and I'm tired of working on them. I'm just tired of it. And so I told my wife, I'm like, listen, I'm going to drive it every day to work, back and forth, rain, shine, snow, sleet, hell, too hot, too cold, it doesn't matter. And she's like, all right, let's do it. And so I end up buying the Tenere. And so I'm riding this thing back and forth to work and seeing deer all the time. I'm in like Deer Alley all the time. I won't say I see them
You're
every day.
down in Cleveland, right?
Yeah, and I work in Dalton, Georgia, so,
Oh,
we're on the
yes.
south end.
Deer. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That whole area, let's just say that I don't have a problem with hunters killing deer at all. Kill them all.
I'm with. They're like they're yard rats
Yes,
down
yes.
here in the south. There, I mean, I've got them living in my bushes out my window right now.
Well,
And I'm like 3 blocks off the square of town in a
wow,
subdivision.
wow. They're just out, they're listening right now.
Oh yeah, they're out there. I
He's talking
can
about
watch my
us,
camera footage every night. I see them in my yard eating.
man. It's wild though, but, so I'm pretty much the type of guy, like, I'm always wearing boots no matter what, for work anyways. But I'm not necessarily the guy that's going to be like stringent. I have been in the past about wearing like your padded pants or something like that, but always jacket, gloves, helmet, eye
Yeah.
protection. I'm that guy. So I was coming home from work, and I don't know if I had just looked down at the speedometer or whatever, but I remember when I'm bringing my eyes back up, I see the deer, and its head and half of it, the front half of its body's already over the yellow line. And I'm kind of seeing past it, and there's a car stop there. And I'm like, oh, and it's kind of, oh, this is it. Um, and I know I didn't hit the brakes because I just didn't have enough time, but I'm pretty sure, just from riding dirt bikes and stuff, that I chopped the throttle. So I'm probably 55, 60, somewhere in there. And I just throttle chop, and I'm hitting it. And um, the way I've always dealt with animals, like dogs or whatever, as they're coming up, I've always waited to the last second, and then I'll honk and kind of kick at them. And it's always worked. And so my natural instinct was to kick this deer, which I don't know if it helped or it hurt, but right before it hits, I'm kicking it. And it kind of hit it with my left leg, and it hits at the same time and ricochets kind of off me and spins off of me. Um, so, of course, somehow, I don't know. Other than God, I don't really know. By the grace of God is what I would attribute it to. That I kept the bike up, um, and kept going, and it's the realization's still kind of hitting me like that just happened, because it's, I mean, it's
Did you,
5 seconds.
did you go down when you
No,
hit
not
it?
at all. No.
Oh, whew.
And that's what I'm saying. I don't know how I didn't go down. Like, I think because I kicked it, and then it's hitting almost,
Was it running or was it
yeah,
walking? It was
that
running.
was running.
Okay.
Yeah. Almost like it had been scared, I think.
So it was kind of a deflected. You kind of hit the front of it and kicked
Well,
it and brought.
as I'm kicking it, as it's hitting right where my crash bars are, kind
Okay.
of on the lower front. In the I didn't think it did anything at first. It may have just barely bent one of the crash bars, but the damage that I know it did, it put a little dent on the bottom of the radiator and busted the little shroud around it. And then it broke
Okay.
my Harbor Freight horn. Which thankfully they come in a 2-pack. So I just took it off and put the other one on.
Have I seen that horn? Was that your horn that I saw one time? That was somebody was
Oh,
showing me. They're really loud
yeah,
ass
yeah,
horn. That was probably yours. Yeah.
yeah. It probably is because it's for the money. You can't be beat. Um, but yeah, and it comes as a 2-pack, like I said. So I just took it off and put the other one on. But damage wise to the bike, that was really it. But somehow I kept it up. But it was like it was an overwhelming. I don't know. I was telling people I've seen movies where everything goes tunnel vision and the black's coming in. I always thought that was fake. It's real.
Oh
It's
yeah.
really, really real because as it all happened, and it was like, man, that hurt. And then I'm trying to check myself while I'm riding still, and what do I do? Did I break my leg? What happened? And my vision started going in, and it was just about to close out, and then it just went back to normal. And I'm dizzy at that point, and I'm kind of get to the end of the road, and I pull over, and the stop sign's probably, I'm going to say, like 5 feet off of the road. And I think I'm on the road, but I'm so dizzy that I'm kind of going back and forth, and I end up 5 feet off the road by the stop sign, and I stop. And I was afraid when I put my leg up to catch myself that I wouldn't be able to hold myself up. But luckily, there was a car coming, and I was able to put my foot down. Um, and I used my Bluetooth to, hey Siri,
Uh-huh.
and called the first thing I did is called my friend at work and told him what happened. And I was like, hey, I'm calling you because I can't just call my wife right now because I'll be too excited about what this, you
Yeah,
know,
you had a massive adrenaline dump.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And so I talked to him for a second. I was like, all right, I'm hanging up and calling my wife. And, I'm 2 roads, and then I'm on a country road that's pretty much straight to a main road that gets me to my house. And I hung up with him, called my wife, and I'm like, hey, I'm just calling to tell you I'm okay, but I just hit a deer. And she's freaking out. "Oh, no, oh, no. I'll be right there." Like, "No, no, no, no. I don't even know how we'll get the bike, and I don't wanna deal with all that, and I'm okay right now. If I don't feel okay, I'll call you right back, but I'm gonna focus on trying to get home. Just be ready when I get there. I'm gonna need some help probably." So, thankfully, I was able to do that, and I was able to make it to the house, and I'm a very, much not go to the doctor kinda guy, and she
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, no. We're going to the doctor. We're going to the doctor." I said, "Okay, okay." You're right. I'm not fighting you on that. But she met me outside, and I was able to get off the bike and limp into the house and changed it out of my clothes into something that I knew I was going to be at the hospital for a little bit, so something more comfortable. And then went to the hospital. And eventually, they took me in, did some X-rays, and they said all it was a severe sprain.
Okay.
Um, so
Where you kicked to the deer.
yes, yes.
Man, you got lucky.
And it's really my foot and my ankle right there at that transition is and I have it's still awkward. It's not 100%. So I don't know if I really did break it. A lot of times there's so much trauma they can't really tell.
Yeah.
So
Hairline fractures and
yeah,
whatnot. Yeah.
but as far as the main thing to me is I can still ride. So I'm good.
Yeah. So, now was this you said coming home from work? Was this evening
Yeah.
time? This is
It,
even.
this is even, and so it was probably anywhere between 5:30 and I'm gonna say 6 o'clock, somewhere in that
So
neighborhood.
not
It
quite
wasn't
dark,
dark
but
yet. Yeah,
yeah, but getting, yeah, it was
yeah,
low light. Okay, and
yeah,
movement time for the deer, and whew, you got lucky. I was going the same speed. I was doing 60, and I didn't. It happened. This deer was in a full sprint.
yeah,
I didn't see it until it came into my field of vision. Like it came out of nowhere,
yeah,
and it had its legs completely outstretched in like a gallop,
yeah,
front legs all out. That I remember seeing that, and I didn't have time to chop the throttle, hit the brakes, anything. All I thought, instantaneous thought was, please clear the bike, and I
yeah,
T-boned it
mm,
with my front tire and immediately low sided.
Mm,
Um, my wife was behind on her bike and saw the whole thing.
mm.
She said the deer was dead on impact. I spun it around. She said it spun around about 5 times, and as it's spinning around across the road and slid under the guardrail.
Yeah,
I was so out of it. I'm looking on the other side of the road for the deer because I thought it came from the other side.
yeah.
I rang my bell pretty good. I had a concussion from that. I didn't go to the hospital. I refused to. I was like, nothing severe was broke. I figured I did. And sure enough, when the adrenaline wore off, I
Yeah.
realized I'd cracked my rib. Yep.
Yeah.
And I've done that a bunch. I mean, what do you do? As long as I can breathe and know my lungs aren't punctured.
Yeah,
It's like
exactly,
take that.
exactly.
Yeah, and you know this from riding in the woods. You land wrong, you crack his ribs. You're like, can I breathe? Okay, good. I can breathe. I'm not. I haven't punctured a lung.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Man.
but bent forks and all. But and I just I just found this out a week or so two ago that for a month I didn't do anything to the bike because I was healing. I was in pain.
Yeah.
But both forks are bent. Both the lower inner, the
Mhm.
inner forks and the outer tubes were both of them were bent.
Wow.
And so, a month later, I filed an insurance claim, and I was like, well, I was like, I bet, I might as well go ahead. I don't know what's wrong, but we couldn't. I thought I just twisted the forks.
Yeah.
I couldn't visually, you can't see, but if it's off a couple millimeters,
Yeah.
on 8 inches of suspension travel, that turns into a lot. But and we couldn't get it straightened out. So I was like, something else is wrong. Filed the
Yeah.
insurance report, but um, uh, I hit it hard. The guts were coming out its butt.
Yeah.
And, you know, and so, anyways, all I remember when I hit the ground, I mean, I hit hard, and I just remember in a lot of pain going, ugh,
Yeah.
like trying to catch my breath and trying to get my wits about me, and my wife grabbing me by the shoulders of my jacket and trying to drag me out of the road. She's like, gotta get up, you're gonna get hit by a car. I'm like, wait. I'm like, give me a sec. you know I can get up, but just give me a minute. I want to make
Yeah.
sure nothing's like I'm gonna step on a punctured out broke ankle or something. but
Yeah. Yeah. Check
but
me first before you move me. Check me.
yeah, I'm thinking I'm not going to get hit. They're going to see that damn bike sitting in the middle of the highway, But anyways, she was freaking out, and
Yeah.
understandably so. She got to. I mean, it happened in an instant for me. I didn't get a process until it already happened. She saw it happen, which is probably a whole nother ordeal. I'd probably be freaking out too if I'd seen like, holy cow, dude, you okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
But but I'm curious, since you've hit that deer, and so that was, I know, a scary thing for you, especially as you began to, once that adrenaline began to wear off and you began to process stuff. Has it changed your riding or what you wears gear wise, or what has it done anything to your riding?
I would say definitely when I first started back, I I was a lot more cautious. It slowly eroded a little bit.
Hmm.
I'm not. I tell everybody, and for various reasons, we all probably have PTSD. All of
Yeah.
us for various things, whether it's your job or daily life, childhood trauma, whatever it is. Um, and I don't want to undermine the severity of that, but I feel like we all do. But I definitely have something from this, and the when it flares up, and I'm calling it PTSD, and I may be labeling it wrong, but um, I'll be riding at night, and the lights catch something right, and it looks like a deer. Um, Guardrail, mailbox, tree. Oh, and instantaneous, like as opposed to used to, like, oh, that might be a deer.
Well, I'm not going to get too much into my profession, but that's kind of my wheelhouse. And I would definitely classify on a motorcycle impacting having that's a traumatic event. I mean,
Yeah,
definitely, it is, and that's what I'm asking about is how has it affected you?
yeah,
And so you're already having a reaction, a very physical reaction from seeing. like you said, like a reflection off a mailbox or something.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, because I have not ridden other than like around the yard and realize
yeah.
my forks are bent. I haven't ridden since this accident, which was October 4th. So we are what, 2 months, 61 days into it today. I am getting my bike back next
Yeah.
weekend. So heck yeah. And we're just waiting on the fork guard and a couple bolts and nuts and screws to
Good.
come
That's
in.
good.
And if the weather cooperates, I'm gonna pick it up from that morning. We're gonna go out on one of his dual sport routes, so
Oh,
I'll go right back into it.
that's
I
good.
guess
That's
that's the
good.
way to do it, is get back on the horse and ride. But
Yeah. Yeah.
um, uh, as a matter of fact, both my bikes are over there. That's why I can't ride. Is my 250F is not turn cranking either, and so I can't get out in the woods and ride single track either right now. So,
But it, you're not getting your wheel therapy.
oh my God, I'm in withdrawals from it. It is bad. It is bad. So I didn't have my Tenere for 11 months because it sat in a dealership waiting on a stupid headlight assembly from that was back
Oh
ordered in
yeah.
Japan. Because I sunk my bike and I didn't tell them I sunk it, and so I hope Yamaha doesn't
Thanks,
listen to
Yamaha. We
this.
appreciate
I just said I think I got some water intrusion and
it. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, rain maybe, I don't know, and so they repaired it, but it took 11 months. So all I did for 11 months was ride single track about every weekend or two.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was building up my chops on the in the off-road world, and transferred that. I did go do my first adventure race in September. So I got my bike back in August. So mid-August, so less than 2 months, I had the bike back when this accident happened. I'd been off the Tenere for 11
Yeah.
months. Raced the Hooligan 100 at Loretta Lynn's on on uh, on the Tenere. So that was interesting doing a adventure class. And the Tenere is a little bit more competent than,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it'll actually do it. I mean, you're not fast on it. I wasn't all that
Yeah.
fast. But, and then went up to Red River Scramble, which was my first time for my wife to actually go to an adventure rally.
Yeah.
Um, and we rode our bikes there, and this happened riding back. So,
How did you like that Red River Scramble? I've
oh,
seen
it's
that's
great.
really fun.
Oh, it's a blast. Drew puts on a good event there, and he's got everything from mild to wild on routes, and we did it all pave. He had all pavement option. My wife hadn't been off in the dirt in
Mhm.
probably 5 or 6 years, so we're going to ease back into it. So we just rode. He has some scenic loops, which that whole area is beautiful. So we just did a pavement route. And it was great, because it's all twisties. That's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
thing about adventure bikes is you can ride it like a
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can carve the little twisties up on them,
Yeah.
and then I went out with some next day she stayed in, and I went out with Gunny and a couple other guys that I met and some other people on our we went out and did some good stuff, and then that was it was a good weekend,
Awesome.
and then I hit a deer coming home
Yeah. Yeah.
and
That's
rode two.
not a good.
Yeah, yeah, and rode 200 miles
Cool.
afterwards. So,
Oh,
yeah. But
that's
anyways,
negative. That's the negative of the riding to an event.
yeah,
Um, your uh, your backup plan is a U-Haul, U-Haul Enterprise truck or somebody else.
yeah, for real. And that was going through my mind. I was like, and I couldn't lift my bike up. I was, so like
Yeah.
stumbling around, like, oh, what's going on? And these people stopped me. I was like, just get it up, let me see if it rolls. And
Yeah.
highway patrolman stopped by. He was just cruising by, and he's laughing. He's shaking his head. He's like, I ain't ever seen anybody hit a deer on a bike and get up. He was laughing. He's like, you want to go to the hospital? I'm like, no. He's like, all right. Well, I
Oh
was like, all
man.
right, I'm going on. I said, see
Yeah.
ya. But it
Yeah.
rolled as long as it was rolling. And of
Yeah.
course, it's a Tenere, so it fired right up. Just hit the button, boom, fired right up. That's why I bought it because I
Yeah.
had a 1090R, and maintenance every 16 or 18,000 miles that cost an arm and a leg. And
Yeah.
I'm not a mechanic, and I don't even want to get in there. You have to just about drop the motors on
Mm,
those V twin KTM's.
man.
And I was just like, I am tired of the maintenance. I mean, it was an all day job just to get the air box on that thing. I mean, you had to take off about 50 million pieces of plastic, disconnect the fuel pump, and it's not an easy connect. It's not a quick connect on their fuel pump, and
Man.
then you got to take the tank off. Then you got this air box that's all like little pieces that go just yeah, yeah. It was a nightmare. I was just like,
Yeah.
this sucks. This sucks. It's
Yeah.
horrible.
Riding. I want to be riding right now.
Yeah, and so God, 10 race tonight, just pop the seat. No, there's the air filter. Pull it right
Yeah.
out. Pop
Really
another
nice.
one in, or use a foam one, and which is what I'm used to with with dirt bikes and dual
Yeah.
sports. Is the maintenance is easy, and
Mhm.
you know 28,000 miles between valve checks is right up my alley too.
Yeah.
Because I'm
Right.
like you, I like to put miles on
Yeah.
on the bike.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd rather be riding than wrenching.
Yes. And that's why I ended up on the 10 rays. And I mean, there's definitely higher performance things out there, but again, it just the maintenance. I tell everybody it's 4 bolts to drop my skid plate, and then you crack that drain plug and spin the filter off, and your old chain's basically done. And then pop the seat off, 4 screws, and your air filter's in your hand.
Yeah,
If I can't do that maintenance right there, I don't need to be riding. You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? It's as easy as it gets. And I'm 42,000, I think, now on mine.
Oh, and good for you.
So we're getting there. But have you seen Long Haul Paul? He
Yes,
200
he.
miles.
Yeah, and he's like, I don't even, I think he stopped doing valve checks and that kind of stuff. Yeah,
I love it. The somebody had posted about his oil philosophy. He's like, I just put oil in it. You know what I'm saying? I was like, this guy maintenance is lower than I do. I'm feeling good about myself, and he's burning the roads up. So I
yeah.
hope we're good.
Yeah, so yeah, if he's going to, so I mean, the motor on the highway. Now, my longest trip on the Tenere was to Tampa, so that was almost 800 miles. And that's a day ride. But you know, your RPMs they're not low on the highway, but it's not stressed. But I like to go higher speeds. But
Yeah,
I'm sure long haul Paul going up and down the interstates and those 200,000 miles, if the motor's not stressed, just proof that's like, yeah, it doesn't, you're not stressing these motors out.
yeah. No, I don't think so at all. I don't think
No,
so at all. Good
no.
bikes, good
Yeah.
solid bikes.
Yeah. So yeah, you are having a little bit of some responses when you see reflections. Have you what about the gear? Have it sounds like you always have been pretty well
Yeah,
covered.
I just think about it. I think about it a little bit more. I actually just it came in today. Um, that company, I don't know if you've heard of them, but I see them all over Facebook now. But it's GPI. It's a company called GPI, and they were running a special where it was buy one get one free. So you could buy one jacket for $100 and get another jacket for free, or buy a jacket and get a pair of pants for free.
Oh,
Um,
Jeep. Is that
but
Gryphon Motos or something like that?
it's just called GPI. But
Okay, okay.
I was like, man, I might be getting ripped off here. But I was reading people's comments. They're like, hey, this is good. But I'm like really impressed. It's really nice because I had Rocky Mountain used to have the brand ARC, and
Mm-hmm.
I have an old set of riding gear. I don't even know. It's probably I'm going to say 8 years old or more, but I've been wearing that and it's just worn out. Like
Yeah.
it's still usable, but it's time for me to get something else. So um my dad, he's retired now, but he was a a local truck driver in the Nashville area, and he had like the high vis jacket and like the vest that zips into it. So that's what I wear now for the most part. And then in the
Be
summer,
visible.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because people are just dumb. And they don't care. That's my saying is people are dumb and they don't care. Like between those two, they're going to hit you. It's just a matter of time if you're not aggressive. Um, Especially if it's the law of averages is what I look at. I'm driving every day back and forth. So that's two chances a day for somebody to be stupid. So hopefully with that stuff it'll help out a little bit. But that jacket though, I got my normal size is XL and I bought a double XL because I'd read somebody was talking about it's tight in the arms. It's still tight in the arms for me, but I have very wide shoulders. Um, and it's brand new too. So I think it'll break in a little bit, but the quality is phenomenal. I'm not gonna lie.
I'll have to look it up.
I haven't tried the pants yet, but the jacket, man, it's every bit as good, if not better, than that ARC jacket that I
Yeah,
have.
that was good stuff. They had,
Yeah.
and now Rocky Mountain's they bought Malcolm Smith Racing, so their house
Okay. Okay.
brand is the MSR is their stuff.
Okay. I didn't know that. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, and but that ARC they made good. Rocky Mountain their house brand stuff's pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
I mean, on the screen behind this screen, my other computer, I've got a bunch of tough stuff in my shopping cart.
Yeah. Yeah.
So insurance is paying for stuff. So my luggage was shredded. And so,
Gotcha.
when it low sided, just shredded one of my pannier bags, which was
Yeah.
tough. So I put some of those in the shopping cart and my crash bars are bent. So I'm going with, I was using, some cheaper crash bars. I mean,
Hmm.
they look fine. The design it's a copy off of like the South SW Motec, but it was the nice CNC. I know they make a ton of stuff
Yeah. Yeah. I know what
for
you're talking.
the Tenere. So I bought some of those, but I'm going to go with the Tusk brand crash bars this time because I need to replace the ones I have. They got bent and scraped
Yeah.
up. So we'll see how that goes. And I'm looking for so I'm doing my Rocky Mountain shopping right now. So they got some free advertising right there. But I like their house. This is what I'm saying is all their house stuff. They make a good product.
Yeah.
They do. And the ARC was a good product. Their
Yeah. Yeah.
MSR, I've got some MSR boots for when I go riding single track uh, of theirs that I bought last year. And
Hmm.
I've been fairly happy with them.
Good deal. I'll tell you this too. So, um, the biggest issue is foul weather when it gets cold. Um, is the layering. And I haven't switched to heated stuff. But the other than some chintzy Chinese heated grips. Um, they're on Temu and AliExpress, and you would get cracked up. The best part is that they work, and it blew my mind that they work. But I bought this pair, and they basically just Velcro around, and
Uh-huh.
then
I
they
have
plug
seen
in.
those.
They work. They plug into the USB port, and then you just turn them on, and you've got you know
Oh, they plug into the
modes.
USB port.
Yeah, and you got three modes with them. So you could do two things. So you could run a battery pack if you wanted to, or for me, I just plug it in
Please
the outlet.
send me a link to.
Yeah.
I'll buy some Temu heated grips.
So I messed my other ones up. So here I was going to show you this, but it's blurred because it's not in my face. Hold on, hold on. I don't know if it'll let me show you, but but it's all it is. Let me turn this blur off
Okay.
because I think you'll get cracked up by how simple this is. But it actually works. That's the
They just Velcro right over the grips, don't they?
yes. I don't know how to fix this, but
That's all right.
I'll send you the link. But yeah, so I had bought another pair of those, and my biggest thing is you get larger gloves, then you lose your dexterity, and that's fine for me going back and forth to work. The gear that works really well for that, especially as it gets, we don't get typically we don't get below zero or anything like that, but we do drop down into the teens. We do get 15 to 20 degrees somewhere in there. I have no clue what it is with a wind chill, and then you're riding too fast on top of it. So any gear that works for hunting from where you're just sitting, normally that gear works pretty good. But I hate it when my hands don't have the dexterity, because then I feel like, oh man, I'm
Yeah,
gonna
you're
not be able
not
to.
as reactive in,
Yeah, yeah,
so like avoiding obstacles like
yeah,
other animals. You need to be able to, and I get it. Like I try to ride year round, and but when you're putting on these big bulky gloves and or your hands are really cold, it's like I can't get to
yeah,
my
yeah,
levers quick enough and just slow reacting.
yeah.
Um,
But
yeah.
those heated. So I have the Tusk makes these um, big over mitts that go over the bars.
Oh, they're. I just checked my Amazon cart. They're arriving tomorrow.
Perfect. You're good. You're good. So they make other like the what are those, the hippos? I can't
Hippo
think of the name.
hands, yeah.
Hippo hands. But so these are, they used to have pretty much all of their models were totally encapsulated, I think. But the Tusk ones don't totally encapsulate it. But the poor man's thing is you just run zip ties around it and close up that space if you want to. But really, with the chintzy Chinese grip warmers, man, you crank those on high and you're wearing MX gloves, just cruising to work, rain,
It,
snow, it doesn't matter. You're just
see,
cruising.
that's
Awesome.
what's yeah. I don't want to put on these big
That's
bulky
me. Yeah.
stuff. So that's why I got, because I knew I was getting my bike back. It's like I haven't ridden much at all in the past year.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be wanting to ride every chance I can
Yeah.
get. And but I'll need, that's the worst is when you get a little, my gear, it would be fine if I get a little wet, but when your hands get wet and cold, that's the
Yeah.
worst. Or if you're going, I'm right here by the Cumberland Plateau when I'm going up and over the mountain and it's below freezing up there, that wind chill, it
Yeah.
just, your fingers are just
Yeah.
iced.
And at a certain point, you just go, "This is supposed to be fun," and I'm not enjoying it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, it's one thing if your buddy fell in the mud hole, but when you fall in the mud hole, you try to stay warm. But that was, those heated grips were using them last year was great. And all I did, I put them on wrong this year and then pulled the wire out, so I screwed it up. I could probably rig it up, but for the 20-30 bucks that they are, I'm getting another pair. And
There you
my
go.
my thing too is I didn't want permanent grips like that on there, heated grips, because
Yeah.
I don't necessarily, um, if I got on your bike and you had thick grips, I would adapt to it in probably 30 minutes. But in my mind right now, I've never had real thick grips, so I don't know. I don't want,
Well, you're coming from the dirt bike world as well,
yeah,
and I understand. That's why I haven't put heated grips. I mean, I've had a bike that came with heated grips on it. That was really nice, and I was like, "Dang, I've been missing out." But I
yeah,
also don't want. I don't want it. It's just another thing to fool with electronics. I want to
yeah,
see another reason why I own a Tenere. It's like I don't want to have too many accessories that I'm having to chase down electrical gremlins or parasitic draws
exactly.
and all that. And
Yeah,
what I didn't even know I knew they made the wraparound Velcro ones because I've seen a buddy, but it went straight to the guy's battery. I'm like, I don't want that. But this,
yeah,
if it's plugged straight into a USB,
yeah.
oh, that's
You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. And
okay. You
this
sold me.
these new ones, I think they're better quality too. This new, it's a different style, if that makes sense. But the other ones didn't have problems. It was my fault that I screwed it up. So I think they'll be great for you. But I'm curious to see how this GPX jacket does. It comes with the thermal liner. I think it'll be fine. When it gets really cold, where I'm going to be cold. I manage a body shop, so
Hmm.
I'm in the office and I'm out of the office. So it's like pneumonia hole when it's really cold. We've got some heat, but it's not, it's natural gas. So it's not the
Yeah.
whole shop. But so when it's really cold like that, I'll wear like a thermal layer, like a silk thickness um, underneath my top and bottom, basically. But overall, for the most part, other than that neck area, everything else is pretty warm once you take care of the grip heater thing. And then wear like a snowmobile mask. And every once in a while, I'll put, if it gets really, really cold, I'll put, there's like a neck, it's not a neck warmer. I guess it is. I don't, like a skier would wear it and it just slides down. It's just
Yeah, I got one of those. Yeah.
yeah, that's just enough typically. And I haven't, my helmet's, it's not a snowmobile helmet or anything like that, but I know a lot of people have gone to those. I've got a buddy. He's like, dude, that's the hot ticket, just because of the dual pane visor,
Yeah.
not fogging and all that, and
Oh,
then
that was
skirt too on some of them.
well. So that's what happened. when I bashed my head on the ground, I put that in, your helmet. I had an Arai XD4, but it had a big old gash on the side of it. It
Yeah.
didn't puncture it, but they say, and,
Yeah.
that you've lost your integrity of your helmet then. So insurance was going to pay for safety gear. I had that, safety equipment. So they paid for a jacket and they're going to pay for a helmet. So the one thing I didn't like about the Arai, I know they sell, you can get as an extra, but the dang helmets are already so expensive, is a
Yeah.
pin lock. And so
Yeah.
when I was looking for a new helmet, I was looking for one that came with a pin lock, and I ended up getting one of these Scorpion,
Is it the EXO?
yeah, nine, something like that, or
Yeah, I think that's the
yeah,
one I.
but yeah, and it came with both a clear and a tinted visor, but it also came with a pin lock to put in on the clear visor. I'm like,
That's
heck
nice.
yeah, pin lock. I was
Yeah.
like, because when the winter, what would get me so cold because it's so humid here in the South
Mhm.
is I would have to lift my visor. I couldn't close my visor because
Yeah.
it'd fog up.
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't raining, if it was raining, it was a nightmare. So I'm
Yeah.
getting wet because I have to raise my visor up just to see because and it was a
Exactly.
nightmare.
Yeah.
Nightmare.
Well, and that's the thing. I'm trying to simplify everything where it eliminates my distractions.
Yeah,
Because I mean, I need to be focused on riding this motorcycle,
that's
but
right.
before you know it, if you're not careful, you're fiddling with this and fiddling with that, and weaving all over the road and that kind of thing. But the only other thing, so I Cycle Gear has, I think they're the I'm trying to think of the name of them, but they're in-house brand, they're built brand over
Hmm.
a Storm 2s maybe? A Storm,
Maybe.
but they have the built-in knee pads, and then they have a thermal liner you can take in and out, and they're full zip legs. That
See, that's
is
key. The
perfect.
full zip legs is,
It's
you
awesome.
know,
I
um,
I for I thought I would just use them to commute, but man, I'll end up just going on a ride with those.
yeah,
I enjoy them so much as opposed to regular riding pants. They're just really good for dual sport. And I've got some the boots I normally wear are like combat boots or a pair of I don't even know what they are right off the bat, but I don't think they're Baits, but basically like a regular combat boot is what I normally wear. So they've got the ankle support, but I don't necessarily have to have steel toe or anything like that. But it's so nice to be able to get to work and you unvelcro the bottoms of them, zip up halfway, and step out of the pants,
yeah,
as opposed to having to take your stupid boots off and all that. That's very frustrating. But those have been really good pants. For me, and being able to regulate by having the liner in or out. Typically, I don't have to have, unless it's just really cold, I don't have to have anything other than those pants over my regular jeans.
yeah,
But it's does give you comfort to think, hey, if this thing slides out in the winter weather or in the rain, then this protection would be probably adequate for me skidding on the road.
yeah,
Um, so it makes me feel a little bit better either way. But that's really my main systems there. Um, just because of the ease of getting in and out of those pants, and really I'm wearing that stuff more because of the weather, and it's just doubles up on my protection as well. But I don't that I'm trying to think while we're talking about that if I have any other real. I think I'm kind of back to normal. Other than at night, I think about the deer a little bit more,
yeah,
and it's like anything. I was talking to one of our vendors. He's a Corvette guy, and he'll have a Corvette for 2 or 3 years, and I mean he'll do the exhaust and just he does them right, and then he'll sell it, and then he'll buy him a new one. Just like I said, every couple of years, and we were talking about it takes life works in 10-year intervals. Man, 10 years ago I was an idiot. 10 years before that, I was a fool, and 10 years before that, man, I can't believe I'm alive. It's the stuff you would do at 16 versus the stuff you do at 20 versus the stuff you do at 30 versus the stuff you do at 40. You go, man, I can't believe I did that at all. Um, and so your perspective just changes as
yes,
you go. And my thing is, I just enjoy riding the motorcycle so much. The speed, the Tenere is bad in the aspect of, with a KLR, you knew you're going fast. With a Tenere, you roll it on to pass somebody, and you look down and you're doing 70, and you go, "Golly, I don't need to do that." And it's good and bad, you know. But that, you know, I try to keep myself in check a little bit more, and I've actually gone on some rides here lately where I just said, "Hey, don't go fast, just relax a little bit. If you want to go fast in a little section here, it's okay, but don't do your normal blitz. You know, really enjoy it." And it was good. You know, no plan to go anywhere, no records to set, which I'm, you know, you're not trying to, but
Right.
it's like a buddy and I talked about. Why am I in a hurry to get to work? Why? I'm going to be there on time from the time I leave my house if I just drive steady. I'm in such a hurry to get to work so I can relax. uh, but yeah, I've really tried to tell myself to relax a little bit more and slow down. It's not 100% working, but I probably have dropped it down maybe a notch periodically, and I just try to think about it more like, you know, you've survived this experience. Try to make it a
Yeah.
little bit
You
longer for
did survive the experience. So, well, I'm interested to see those pictures because
okay,
I'm gonna plug them into this video. And but I appreciate you taking the time to tell your story
no
because
problem.
you're the second person I've taught. We've done 3 installments. You're the second person I have talked to that hit a deer. And my next installment, which I think is the final installment, I'm talking to somebody who hit a kangaroo, and
Ooh,
that was, of course, in Australia, and
yeah,
I'm going to be talking to him in Thailand. So, so there's the spoiler alert,
yeah,
impact. But apparently, the kangaroo down there are like the deer, they're
yeah,
just, yeah. So
yeah. Well,
that's their issue.
I appreciate you, and from what I could see, they have the same exact problem we have here.
Yep.
Uh, it might even be worse. I don't know, but no, I appreciate you having me on,
Yeah.
and hopefully it'll help somebody else by hearing my experience.
We will see you next time, and I want to thank you for everything. And now I'm going to figure out how to stop this recording. Up there it is.